Hey everybody, Meredith Oliver here with the November Builder Town Hall. We have a jam-packed show for you today. We've got tons of you watching through Zoom, and we've got even more of you watching through the live stream on Facebook, and we appreciate every single one of you. We know you're busy. We know there is so much information, so many podcasts, so many webinars, conferences that you could be going to or that you might be doing, but you are taking the time to spend some time with us here at Builder Town Hall, and we never, ever take that for granted. I'm Meredith Oliver. I am the president and chief digital marketing strategist of Meredith Communications. We're a home builder marketing agency located right here in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where our featured guest is from as well today. We'll know more about that in just a minute. What we do is we help builders increase their leads and their conversions into sales through digital marketing. We love what we do. We can't imagine doing anything else. Although I will tell you, we're exhausted. And it's not just the team here at Meredith Communications, any of the consultants, coaches, other agencies, trainers, all of us folks that serve you, our builder industry, we're tired. You guys are stressed. And what we would like to do today is just all take a collective deep breath in through the nose, through the mouth. Yeah. Let's take a collective deep breath. Stop the panic. Been telling all of our clients, don't panic, do plan. So kind of stop the reactive, overreacting, decision-making, all of that that's been going on. Let's just take a deep breath and sit back and talk about what really works today. And that's what our whole program is about. We want you to be able to plan, not panic, in real time. Being able to plan in real time means that you need data and you need digital marketing tools that can respond in real time. So let me just put it to you as bluntly as I know how. Does your website, does your CRM, does your warranty program, all of the tools that you're using, especially your digital tools, are they allowing you to plan instead of panic? And are they allowing you to respond and react in real time? Because it's those clients of ours that are still doing quite well in this market. Now, of course, we'll go right into Meredith's metrics, and I'll give you some updates on where we are in terms of numbers. Looking at October over September, total website visits were down 8% month over month, down 8% month over month. That's not bad. I'll take 8%. Of course, down year over year, we're really hovering at that 20 to 25% on almost all of the metrics. Another number that I really look at and I pay close attention to are the new visitor numbers. So if I'm looking at a builder website and I'm saying, okay, what percentage of new visitors did you have? Well, we're only down -7 month over month, down 26 year over year. So what does that mean? That means fewer first-time visitors to your site. What does that mean? That means you've got to work your CRM and every single lead that's in it to make sure that they are indeed getting that full experience, so that they're getting worked, they're being nurtured, they're being touched, because we don't have as many first-time eyeballs coming in. Now, here's an encouraging number that I found when I look at average session duration, how long they stay on your website. I look at bounce rate of the site, they look at one page and leave. If I look at pages per session, all of those numbers are holding quite steady. Even year over year, they're holding quite steady. So that was the session duration, how long they stay. That's the bounce rate, what percentage look at one page and leave. and pages per session, how many pages per session. So if I tell you that your traffic is staying the same amount of time, they're looking at multiple pages, and those numbers are holding, what does that tell you? That means that the traffic that you are getting is excellent quality. It's high quality. It's people that are still really interested despite everything that's going on. So you may not have as big a pipe delivering as many eyeballs in volume, but your quality should still be quite good. Lastly, I looked at goal conversions. What that means is on a website, how many contact us forms did we get? How many live chats? How many phone calls, et cetera, et cetera. Only down, it's funny when you say only down, -1% month over month, down right at that 20% number, that it's -18% year over year. So yeah, goal conversions have slowed, but again, the ones that you're getting are very high quality. So we want to look at them with a positive outlook and really nurture them and work with them. Okay, so how did these builders that we're tracking, how did they manage to hold their goal conversions and their quality of their traffic? Like, how are they doing that? Because I'm telling you, it's not an accident. They're doing it because I hopefully tuned in last month with our special guest, Steve Dennis, whose quote just slayed Carrie, Angela, and myself when he said, "It's a bad time to be boring." It's a bad time to be boring. So if you missed last month's town hall, please go back. That's the October town hall. Listen to the Steve Dennis interview. He's the author of Remarkable Retail. And when he said it's a bad time to be boring, it really lit an idea, like the little light bulb emoji flashed over our heads. And we said, yeah, it's a bad time to be boring. So when I look at the specific conversions per builder, they're holding because they're doing something that's interesting, that's different, that's not boring and repetitive. And so that's where we want to really unlock you today, in that deep breath where we plan, don't panic, and we think about and we look at our data and we think, how can we be not boring? So we're actually, Carrie will put it into chat. We're starting a hashtag. It's hashtag home builders aren't boring. Hashtag home builders aren't boring. And over the next few shows, we'll be bringing you examples that you're going to submit to us of builders who are doing non-boring things. So we're super excited about this. Home builders aren't boring. We'll be sharing examples in the Builder Town Hall Facebook group. Please send them to us, screenshots, files, whatever. Message us. We would love to feature you, and maybe you'll make the show next month. Okay, you know who isn't boring? Our featured guest today. Jim, I'm going to have you hop right in and get your camera and your audio on. While you do that, I'm going to do a brief introduction, and then I'm going to let you expand. Now, any of you that are here today that are in Raleigh, Jim Allen needs no introduction. But because we are a national show, I mean, I saw people in chat from Seattle and Washington, Washington, all over the coast to coast, California. I do want to introduce to you Jim Allen, the president of the Jim Allen Group. Now, the Jim Allen Group has the distinction of being the #1 Coldwell Banker real estate team in North America, not in North Carolina, in North America. And we were chatting in the pre-show. Jim, you were saying you're representing how many builders right now?
Right around 200 right now.
Yeah, they're representing 200 builders, and you had one more number and I didn't get it.
146 communities currently.
That's amazing. You have an amazing team around you. I know that team is a big deal with your culture. We'll talk more about that. Is there anything else you want to tell us about your background so that people understand, who you are and what you do?
Well, I think if I was going to introduce ourselves, I think the first thing I would tell you is I'm Jim Allen, but there's 100 other people right behind me that are also Jim Allen. And, if I could go back in time, I probably would have named my company something. It wouldn't have been the Jim Allen Group, although we're trying to become JAG because it's such a personal relationship that all the people that work here have, that they have truly become Jim Allen. I mean, we're getting ready to kick off a marketing campaign where we flash forward and everybody's face pops up. I'm Jim Allen, I'm Jim Allen. And at the end, I'm just going to say, gosh, I guess they are. I thought I was. And it's true though. I mean, what I would tell you is I have been so blessed in every position I've been in. I, by accident or God bringing me to the right places, I met a gentleman named Tom Powell, was my first sales manager and the person who started me on my new home journey, and a guy named Arthur Sandman, who was probably the most brilliant man I've ever been around and probably the best builder and developer to ever develop in a triangle. And then Lewis Dickerson, my third mentor in my life. Homes by Dickerson, a lot of people know that brand and that company, started that company. And those three men, I got to go sit in meetings and listen to them. And I would tell you, everything I do today is poured straight from those guys.
And I can so relate to that. You just gave me goosebumps. If anybody could see, I have goosebumps up and down because I am the same way. I can think of people like Melinda Brody, like Carrie Mulcrone, like Gay Orr and Christy Beck that have been amazing mentors and were so generous. And really, what I do, whether I'm doing hosting town hall or I'm just working with a client, like how to handle marketing for new homes, they taught it to me. And so,
And why we have to give back the same way you're thinking.
yeah.
Like if all those people poured into us, why aren't we doing that for everybody else? You can't. Knowledge is owned by everybody, and you can't be selfish with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really what, when you and I connected and about you coming on the show, I knew this November topic was going to be a wonderful fit because in November, it's a month of gratitude, of giving back. And I feel like what we want to share with people today and what I have on my sign behind me is what you guys do better than anybody is this idea of marketing with meaning by being involved in the community. I mean, you are truly building community here in the Triangle, and it's quite amazing. So I would love to know, and I without giving away your trade secrets, how much money, let's say 2021, what did you guys raise for the community in your various projects?
Raise or give is two separate things. So we raised in 2021 well over $1 million in charities we were giving back to. But personally, what we put back in our resources, we were a little over 200,000 of that was our personal resources. And, for 2022, that number is even growing a little larger. I think we're already at 225 and, still got a couple of months left. We just try not to say no when people ask, because more people ask, the more you try to help. And that's just part of our culture.
Yeah, it is. And what I love about it is the way that you all go about it. It doesn't feel like you're trying to take credit for it. You wouldn't have brought those numbers up, except I wanted people who don't know you to really understand the size of your contribution. What about sweat equity hours? Because I know you guys
Oh my
do.
gosh.
Yeah. Any idea on that? Or
Yeah, that's all. Let me tell you, that's a whole nother topic, because truly my team has bought so much into this that if we bring up a project, whether it's we're going to outfit a new apartment for someone who's homeless, or whatever it is that we're planning on doing, the man hours, I cannot even tell you. And I can tell you though, that it's consistent and it's across our whole team. So every time the HBA or anybody else asks, we immediately deploy people there. There's no way to put a cap on that. And actually, people will say, well, Jim, I had to work today. No, if you've got something you're going to do for our community, you can go do that instead. You can make this up some other time. I mean, that's really how we view it.
And I saw, I think just this morning, a group picture of some folks doing some work at somebody's property. You know, what I love about it is they all had on their matching t-shirts. Like there is a little branding in there, which that's awesome. Because we are running a business, but yeah, just today, I don't know if they did that yesterday or if they were doing that this morning, but I know you've got a team out right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason we're wearing the shirts is not always just for branding. It's also because we want them to know, hey, we're maybe a first-time volunteer here, or maybe we've done this before. So reach out to another person on JAG, because maybe they can show you how we set up the apartment, how we put the hardwood floors down, how we do the reeling for research, or whatever the thing is. When we're doing our golf tournaments, we wear the shirts so we work for the golf course, so they know, hey, if you need water, you need something else, call us and let us know. But the give back from that too is that people see that we're a part of our community.
How did you come to making this such a core mission of the business? Like, because I think there's a lot of business owners and builder owners, a lot of them listening today, that they're just hesitant to give their people permission to go spend time doing that. They feel like it'll take away from productivity. Like, how did you get it started?
So first of all, I'll tell you, and I give credit to my mom for everything it is in my life, because when you have a great mom, when you're born, she was the matriarch of my entire family. And I have 27 cousins, and every one of them, she was involved in some part of their life, whether she paid for their wedding, whether she put them through college, whatever it was she did for these other people. And my mom never made more than $20,000 a year in her entire life. But everything she did was from that giving standpoint. And that started me. But I'll tell you what really hit home. When I had my first child, I went and volunteered one day to take this Kona ice machine to the Boys and Girls Club in Wake Forest. And I drove the thing up there thinking, no big deal. This is going to be a little small event. Well, that day, there were 300 children that attended that event. And it was supposed to be a parents' day. All the parents were supposed to be coming to look at this artwork these kids had designed and created. And do you know how many parents showed up for that luncheon?
Oh, no.
Zero. Not one parent. 300 children there that had formed this community with themselves. The 18-year-olds were taking care of the 5-year-olds and everybody in between. And I went just taking this Kona ice machine, thinking I'm going to be cool while I'm here. And, these guys will like me. Well, I asked the director, I said, listen, can you tell me what's your normal work schedule look like? And she said, well, I'm supposed to get here at 7. So I'm here before the parents, and I'm supposed to leave at 6. And I said, well, wait, you keep saying that supposed to word. What does that really look like in your life? And she said, well, I get here every morning about 6:15 at the latest. I go home somewhere between 9 and 10 every night. And I said, well, wait a minute, how did you get to these extended hours? She said, every day it's a different parent that leaves their children and forgets they're even here with us. And some days I just have to wait until enough parents have picked their kids up so I can put them all in my car and drive them home for the ones that their parents have forgotten. That's where it started. And boy, that hit me so hard. And this little guy was walking around with a little microphone, and he kept interviewing me all day long. And then he walked up and he said, can I really have a Kona ice? And I was like, you can have as many as you want today. And And I left there and I sat in my car in the parking lot. And it's a little embarrassing as a man to admit this, but I sat in my parking lot and I cried for an hour. It broke my heart that I have children that I love, that I'm creating things for. And these kids created these great things and nobody was paying attention. And so we started right there. I called her the next day. I said, if I buy you a bus, would it make your life easier? Now, I don't think she thought I was really going to do it, but I bought this bus. And the next year, when we did the Kona ice machine thing, and they came back to thank us, they all showed up in my parking lot, a bunch of them in a bus with signs out saying, thank you, Jack. I'm crying now thinking about it. But
Yeah.
so like that was a start. And then we put a scoreboard up there, and then whatever else. And now we do the turkey trot every Thanksgiving, and we're involved, and I love those people, and
Yeah.
it makes you be able to get back.
Yeah. And that's really when we think about, we spend most of our hours working versus with our family or sleeping. Like if you total it all up, and our work has to mean something. It has to have a purpose driven behind it, or we can't go at the high rate of success and all the things that we want to do, because it will burn out. And that's that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys, we talk about marketing with meaning, or building community because it's good business, and that's what you've done. And then here you are. So it's cool to learn
I
from you
apologize.
today.
I'm a big crier, and I
No.
apologize, but I
Yeah.
like when you care, it's really, why
Yeah.
hide it? I think if you lead with your heart, people
Yeah.
follow you so much better.
Yeah. And what would you say? Because I mean, listening to the $1 million and $250,000 personal contributed, like that might feel overwhelming or intimidating to some of our smaller business builders that are on today, or even our individual salespeople, sales managers. How would you tell them just to get started if they wanted to do more of this community purpose driven?
Well, it's just like I got started. Originally other people were doing things and I filled in and volunteered. The HBA in Wake County gives so much to people. And I think the HBAs across the country, you would find this at, if home builders didn't do anything but just participate in the activities the HBA sets up for them to start out with, that would
Yeah.
be a great starting point. But what will happen to you over the time when you're doing it? I am a faith-based person, and I can't hide from it. I'll just tell you, God promises in the Bible, and this is a fact, and I'm in the experience of it, that he just won't take care of your needs. He provides abundantly. And if you start trying to give, you will never be able to outgive God, because as I've given more and more and more, the blessings he's put in our lives, like you can't put dollars on it.
No.
The love and the meaning. And people ask me constantly, how do you keep your team together? How do you keep so many people there for so long? Like my longest employee right now is 32 years. And we've I didn't form the company till 32 years ago. And people think, well, how do you keep people for that long? When you love them and you lead with that portion of it, and that's what giving back is all about.
Yes.
I think, I don't care if you're the biggest corporation in the world, if your heart's as big as your company, then you don't have to worry about how to go get people, because they're going to be seeking you.
Yeah.
The people will beg you to do business with them. People tell me every day, you can't represent this builder because they sell all their own stuff, except for the Jim Allen Group, because people that won't let anybody else do business with them will do business with us, because we give with that spirit of giving to begin with. I'm a servant. That's what we all are at the end of the day. And if you lead with a servant's heart,
Yeah.
God just sees it and rewards it.
And I'm glad you brought your faith up, because if you weren't, I was going to, because we respect and appreciate everybody's beliefs here, and we all of you, whether you
Same.
believe in whether you believe in a higher power or what that looks like for you. But what I really want to hit on is, you do openly talk about what your beliefs are. I see it on social media. I hear it when I talk to you in conversations, when we're at events together. And that's been, like you said, a very big thing for you. And I think in these times, as each of you are thinking about how can you plug in, how can you be more purpose driven, I would say don't be afraid to talk about those types of beliefs. Don't let anybody intimidate you that it's not cool or you'll get canceled or whatever. I think that that's something that we have to do to be authentic.
The advice I would give there, though, when you go do the warm up, if you go into a national convention like I just got back from, and they run through their test questions with you, don't answer that portion yet. Wait until it's live and they can't stop you, because then it's too late for them to stop. And here's my thought on it. And I believe at the convention I just came back from Phoenix, I literally almost couldn't get out of the auditorium for people coming up thanking me for giving Jesus credit for the things that happen in my life. What I don't want to do is go to heaven, be standing outside the gate, and God say, I don't recognize you. I don't know who you are. So if I don't recognize him today, and I am not willing to put my heart and my life in his hands, then when I get up there, he's going to say, next. I don't think we're going to spend the time going through you. Now, I'm already going to have a long enough time. Don't get in line behind me, because I'm going to be waiting, running through all the sins in my life long enough. But I want to make sure I'm going in, even if I get a tenth of a crown. That's all I'm looking.
Yeah, that's what we have to be really digging in to, what each of your beliefs are, and what your why. What Jim's really talking about in his life is that why. And and for him, that's this relationship that he has in his faith. But for you, it could be your family, it could be a legacy that you want to leave, it could be being philanthropic. I mean, all of those things can be yours, but knowing what it is and getting yourself constantly re-energized to that why. Your why can get tired. That's why I had everybody take a deep breath today. It can start to panic, and so you have to find ways to really plug in. Speaking of plugging in, let's welcome Carrie Mulcrone to the conversation.
Oh, hey everybody.
I know. Have you had a few little tears there?
Thanks, Jim.
But
I have to say that you're the same Jim that I know today than I've known for years. And I think that genuine, true, authentic self should always come through from everybody, and not to, because we are talking about how can people follow some of the things that you've done, like what are the tangibles. And we've got marketing with a meaning, is that giving can be part of your marketing plan. And I think everybody looks at so there's tithing, right? So what if you looked at that in the sense as, when you're making your marketing plans, everybody, for 2023, can you believe we're saying that? God, no. Is giving part of that plan? Are you doing that first? Not if we have time or something happens or we should go do that. Or, I mean, I see so many, hey, should we go sponsor a hole at a golf course? Things like that. That's not what we're talking about today. we're not really talking about sponsoring a hole. And you've done some very tangible, awesome things. And I can't wait to talk to everybody about some of them, Meredith.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite, or I know it's hard to pick a favorite, but some of the kind of community projects you guys have done?
So when you ask that, that's like asking, who's my favorite child, and I've only got two, and I'm going to tell you, I love them both. But I will just name two, and I already touched on the Boys and Girls Club, so I won't drag you through that, because that is one of our cores. I mean, we will never not support the Boys and Girls Club. When that girl told me that they didn't have a corporate sponsor, now I thought all the Boys and Girls Clubs did, but they did not have a corporate sponsor in the Wake Forest branch. Now the big national Boys and Girls Club does, and they have people giving, and Raleigh's popular, but Wake Forest wasn't. Maybe there's one of those in your town, wherever you are, that doesn't have that corporate sponsor that's really willing to get behind them. I'm begging them to call me when they have a need, and they don't reach out. You have to just give and give and give. But the Helene Foundation, I'm going to go to that one. What we do with the Helene Foundation, and we've been very fortunate that ESPN Radio also formed this golf tournament that we do every year for them. But let me first tell you who the Helene Foundation is. A friend of mine, not my first sale, but one of my early sales in my business career was a girl named Susan Bowers. She is the only full-time employee of the Helene Foundation. The Helene Foundation is set up to help women who have cancer with their families, so that they're then able to go to chemo and not worry about who's going to pick their child up at school. They can go to chemo and not worry about whether they're going to have dinner that night for their child, or the days they're too sick to do other things. The Helene Foundation reaches out. So in order for the Helene Foundation to help you, you must have children less than 18 years old. Got to be a mom, obviously. And that's really the only criteria they place on them. But they are set up to be an aid to women who have cancer. And being someone who loves my mom as much as I did, and still worships and thinks about her daily, I wanted to do something to give back to my mom. And when Susan came to me, and you think these people you meet in your life, it's, I sold her a house way back here. Is that really the purpose? No. Now I know what that purpose was. That my divine appointment with Susan was so we led the Helene Foundation going forward. So we do this annual golf tournament with them now, that if you wait till the month it's happening, ESPN Radio gives away so much free advertising to bring people in, and more people are coming every year. And then we also do another charity kickoff event with them, where we actually raffle off gifts and things of that nature. That one may not be the one we've given the most to, but it's the one that hits my heart the most. The Boys and Girls Club and that are it. But I mean, there's so many. Our list, if I sat here and told you everything we've given money to, and when I gave you what my budget is, Allie, who's our in-house marketing person and helps me figure out everything I'm going to do, Allie told me that, listen, Jim, you have no idea how many places we actually do give. And I, because we just have started that spirit of, I can't quantitatively measure it, but what I can tell you is the more I give every single year, the more that comes back to me every year. So when I say these big events, they're not hard to organize at all. When you start and you realize how many people start helping you, when we do the golf tournament, there's only 18 holes on that course. So finding 18 different people to sponsor holes and help with each hole, that's not any problem at all when we're starting them. But, driving the golf carts to get the people to and from, and those kinds of things just start being easier and easier. And you realize that everybody really wants to help. People come that are planning on just playing in the tournament. Next thing you know, at the end of the day, they're helping us break down tables where we fed the people that day. When one person does something, everybody else follows.
Jim, I think, Meredith, for us, as we always try and get lessons learned from, we're blessed with the guests that we've had, is giving attracts giving. And how many people are probably out there wanting to do something, but not knowing how to start? Well, this message is telling everybody on our call today that you don't have to necessarily start it if you think it's daunting. You can join someone else's efforts. So I think latch on to someone who is giving and start there. And that might be your very first foot in the door. Who's going to break out that home tour that you're part of? I'm telling you, if you guys are going to forget about it, I'm going to bring it up. Yeah. Tell me about a goat, Jim.
Yeah, right.
Well, that was kind of fun, actually.
Yeah. Okay. I shared the screen so everybody can see this. Yeah.
So our purpose behind it was, you know, every year during the Parade of Homes, we originally were, you know, just like everybody else, we're trying to hold open the houses that we have open, et cetera. And that's part of what we're thinking through. But this one, we were able to do it with more of a parade for a purpose for the first time. We've been doing these parades forever, but we didn't take advantage of it to give back to charities as well. And we chose this year the Community Music School and the Wake Tech Foundation, that actually the HBA also supports the Wake Tech Foundation. So we gave to those two this year, and that was part of our goal in doing it. But we were trying to create, just for this one year, the greatest parade home tour there had been. We've had many more homes in the parade before this year. You know, it was a down year for the parade, but we felt like, well, it's the first time we've done a parade with a purpose. It's the first time we've put giving back as the real key to the parade, which I think, by the way, is why, believe it or not, we had 5 of our $1 million plus parade entries sell in the house from people visiting that day. We're writing the contract, sitting at the counter, is in this horrible market people are talking about. One of them was a $3 million home, writing on a countertop in the kitchen in this just terrible market we're in right now. And maybe for us, maybe the reason it happened is because the spirit of it, it was the greatest parade all time for us in terms of how we were thinking. Not the biggest, not the anything else, but for us, because we got to give with a purpose this year.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Meredith.
So this is exactly when we're talking about hashtag home builders aren't boring. This is a perfect example of Jim Allen Group looking and saying, okay, we participate in the parade every year of homes. We're going to have this number, 30, 50, whatever homes, however many we're going to enter. How do we market what we're doing, but do it with an interesting twist, and then do it with purpose and mission driven? And I'm telling you, when you combine those two things together in how people buy and how they respond to you, when you combine those two things, you'll write a $3 million contract in a terrible market. And not that that's the reason that Jim and his group did it, but this was so unique and so interesting. And then you guys kept taking pictures of each other and posting on social holding goats, which was my favorite part. When I saw the picture of Jim holding a goat, I was just beside myself.
And it was the cutest little goat you've ever seen, by the way.
So cute,
I wanted to take it. I wanted to take it home.
Yeah. But
adorable.
I think the greatest home of all times was like just so cool. But let's back that up a little bit, in that when we talked about the parade with a purpose, right? But I think a really good word to attribute to you, Jim, and your efforts, and for people to understand, is you're very intentional about your giving. You're not like, just let's go find somewhere this would be good for us to do. You're intentional of understanding that if I put it out there, someone that needs giving, being gived to, can I say give to?
Yes.
You know, there's always a Carrieism on this every time. So today it's gived to. And that's not Minnesotan, that's just wrong. But I think that the way that you live your life and with your company, because we always tell everybody that your personal and professional life are intertwined. You're not two different people, right? You are the same person. So if you're intentional about that, then that gets out, and all of a sudden the event that you need to give to comes to you, right?
Mhm.
So listen, I'm going to go ahead and give my marketing team too, just the accolades they deserve from it too, because one of the other things we did this year that's different than we've ever done before, instead of doing this big drawing at the end, we're going to give out this grand prize, which we're doing that too. During the parade, while people were in the house, we actually had a little QR code that they could all register while they were there. And when they got to a certain number of registrations, like winning the lottery, they won instantaneous prizes in the houses. And we had the giveaways to give away while we were there. So whoever was staffing that parade house, when it went off, the person's in shock, first of all, because it's lighting up and scaring them to death. And then the next thing we do, we got to go Facebook Live with that person, or taking pictures and taking the opportunity, instead of after the parade's over with going after it,
Yes.
while we were there, having the activity go on, just like we're doing today live, getting to do that with everybody there. And there were smaller gifts, but you know what? Every one of those people acted like they
like to win.
They're like, oh my God, I won. You know, this is so cool.
Well, look
and that's
what they
going
do
on, and somebody's writing a contract over here at the same time. I don't know how
that jingle, right? G54, what? And a whole crowd goes crazy over G54. And you're like, but what you're saying is be in the present. It's like, don't live in the after the fact world. That is, so when we're talking about, if everyone's adding all these little secrets up, that really is your recipe, Jim, that we've kind of been doing, is I think doing some things in the present, like freaking them out with a QR code, that like when you're waiting to get your table and that buzzer goes off and you're like, oh my God, our table's ready. What the heck am I so excited about it? Dinner.
You know, our Steve Dennis last month talked about amplify your wow, amplify your wow. And so when you use social media, when you use live streaming, and you are sharing a wow out to a network, you're amplifying that, and it's not boring. So people pay attention, they're interested in it. Everybody likes to win. Everybody likes a prize, right?
Yep.
And what you're saying about the present, Carrie, ties back to where I started with us today, which was don't panic, plan, but do it, plan and respond in real time. Real time. You've got to have these tools where on the fly today we could make a change if we needed to on the offer that we're making, or the pricing, or the step, whatever it is. But it's got to be in real time today. We can't plan and then do a marketing plan for a year anymore. Like that's just not going to work.
No, it's not. And I think understanding, and Jim, I know Allie does a great job for you, but I bet you can help us a little bit with, because you protect, Allie is your marketing gal, right? But
Beth is actually my marketing gal. Allie runs my life, and Allie keeps me out of trouble.
Well, I want Allie to move to Minnesota.
I give Allie credit for everything, because she's Jim Allen more than I'm Jim Allen someday.
She's operations.
Operations. You always have to have operations. But what we're also, when you're doing these kinds of things, we can't deny measuring some of the metrics on when you do these things. So that if what we're going to ask everybody today to do is to consider, as you're doing your budgets for next year, or if you've done them, re-looking at them and figuring out some places to give and participate. It's not always money. Sometimes it's time, right, Jim? And you're going to put all that in. then you've got some time under your belt to measure the metrics on where are you most valuable, because talk to that for a second, because you can't just go do all these things. You got to figure out, where did I really leave the impact that's undeniable?
So here's this is going to be something you weren't planning for, but I'm
usually my deal.
I'm going to reverse this question, because really here's what it is. It used to be people would ask me, what do you receive out of what you give in, and how does that work? So here's what we've done. We look at that completely backwards. We say, how much harder can we work so that we have more to give? We've reversed it. It started out in our business model that we were trying to figure out how much of what we work for could we give. Now we're figuring out how much harder do we have to work so we can give more. It's become so important in our culture that that's what we're doing. But how you plan in advance is no different. And if you're not planning in advance in your business will not succeed. I start out right now at the beginning of the year, and I say, look, we got $100,000 we're going to put towards this regardless. Doesn't matter what else I do, here it is. And I stick it on the side. And then by the end of the year, when I realize some years we've given 300,000 or whatever the number ends up being, I don't worry about it, because I budgeted this and I expect to blow past my budgets in what I receive and what I spend every single year. I'm just starting with a guideline. Your time costs nothing other than your time. So for me, with the companies that don't know how much money they have to give to things, let's start with budgeting out. Okay, if I plan on each person that works here, and I have this many employees, and I'm going to just give 8 hours of time apiece, 1 day of each person's time, because none of these things take 8 hours. Some of them take in that day, they're 2, they're 3, they're maybe 5, maybe 7, whatever it's stretched out. So maybe a few of your people, they're tied up all in one event. But if you do that, just 1 day of their work year, be dedicated to it, you can spread that across whatever corporation it is. And the more employees you get, the more hours you have to give. After you realize that 1 hour took nothing away from your business, the next year give 2, the next year give 3. And the next thing you're going to realize, like about where we are now in our hour giving, we're at about 10 hours a piece per employee that work for us, that we're trying to resupply man-hour wise.
Wow.
And then what that quantitatively takes us to in money, you can't pay back.
And that's so helpful to everybody, that I hope everybody wrote that down, is that, per employee, how many hours can you give, and then figure out what it is. But again, it's purposeful, it's intentional, it takes planning. It's not just giving on the side, right? It's giving first.
It's quantifiable too, though. So because you know what that person makes per hour, you can add those things up. And now, charitably, if you're trying to keep up with your taxes, you know what you're giving already.
And how do you get the buy-in from your team? So you give quote unquote permission for people to use work time to give their time to the community. How do you attract people and keep people who want to do this?
How do you do it? The smiles, like that little boy walking around with that microphone that stole my heart that day. That's what it is. When the lady walks in, and it's like the big reveal when you watch these TV shows, when they've remade a house and you get to go in and you watch all these people smile and what's going on in their lives. Well, the great news is when we do this, at the end of it, once we set up these apartments for people to move into, we get to see them there and take pictures with them, and they're smiling and they're like, oh my God. And it may not be nothing more than they got pictures on the wall, they got silverware, they've got linens on their bed, things they didn't have before, and they are so appreciative.
Yeah.
That's where, like, who doesn't want to be a part of that, you know?
And here's a good thing, and you brought this out. All of a sudden, you just gave me a memory mark in time. And Meredith, you know this builder because most of the builders that she's worked with, I work with, and I've worked with, and she's worked with. But back in the day with Bright Keys, when you signed a contract with them, you signed that you would give 20 volunteer hours a year. And you didn't come to work there if you didn't sign give those hours. And they would give you choices of where they as a company gave, or you could find your own. But to be part of that culture, I remember signing, and I joined in on one of their ventures, and it was the inner city of St. Paul. And every month I went and read to kids. I got to tell you, I left. So my point is, my productivity was so high after I did that giving activity there, where we might think, well, someone in the field would be out of the field. Well, if they go and do this, you know what they're going to go do when they get back to the field? They're going to be an ever ready bunny.
That's the work to give mentality. And that is exact what you're saying. You just said it the best I could possibly say it. And that is what happens. You know, whether it's we're doing a bowling tournament, you know, there are so many things we do that I can't even tell you them all anymore. We just did one that was a bowling tournament recently. I've got one guy on my team who loves to bowl. Next thing you know, we got a whole bowling alley full of people, and every team sponsored somebody new. And you walk out, you got 32 lanes, and only each person gives $1,000, but
Wow.
it's $2,000 you raise for those people. It's so easy once you start, and everybody else wants to be involved and engaged. But that work back, if you're working with a purpose, and that's the whole key. That's how you keep the people engaged in here. If our purpose is how much can we give back to our own community, not how many sales can we make, not how much business do we do. Like, one of the things I did as a result of this, we don't have sales agent of the year in our little group. We don't have a reward for people for who sold the most houses. We don't do that anymore. Ours is completely now about how do we work all together for the ability to be able to go back and do this. And, you know, we found is people stop fighting with each other. People start wanting to have other people on their SAIs when they sell a house. That's our sales input form, but they share more readily because they're already used to sharing.
Yeah. So because apparently Meredith's mic is a little low today.
Yeah, I adjusted the volume on it. I don't know if that helped.
Okay.
But
we've got a few minutes left, Jim, and then, much better. So now I'll put you back on. But real quick, we always like to have a really strong, when you get off this Builder Town Hall, you feel 100% compelled to go do this from what our guests told us. So what do you want everybody else to do from this town hall to be the best self that they can be?
What I would love to see everybody do, if each person that's watching could just themselves dedicate 10 hours this year to helping another person in their life. Don't figure out what it is ahead of time. Just tell yourself, I'm going to keep track and time of it. And you monitor it. When you get through with those 10 hours, you wait and see how much you've received back as a result of it. What I would tell you, everybody in their local areas have got a Boys and Girls Club, I'll guarantee you. And that's the one I reach out to, because even though they have this big global network of giving, the small individual ones don't have people who can help. If you're only giving 10 hours of your time for a year, that's not overwhelming. That's a great place to start. Now, I'm going to bet you give 100 hours because you gave the 10, because you're going to get so much reward out of it, you're not going to be able to stop.
So everybody, that's Jim Allen's ask. 10 hours from each person on this call in 2023. Meredith, I'm going to let you close this out today.
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable ask, but also a transformative ask. It is going to make a difference in your life. And for being on this town hall today and listening to Jim and his mission and his beliefs and all of his team members that back him up, I know you're better for it. And that's why we do Builder Town Hall. So we appreciate your time and the investment that you made in us today to give us your precious time.
Thanks,
A lot of
Jim.
people ask me, can I do Builder Town Hall? Can I be on? And what I'll tell you is I book topics, not guests. So if you have a topic, hit me, message me, email me, talk to me. And we typically interview builders and their team members. We don't do a lot of like vendor interviews because we want this to be truly educational and never a sales pitch. But if you're interested, please, send me your topic and your idea, and you never know, you might end up right here with us. Jim, thank you so much. I owe you big time. You were at this conference in Phoenix. I don't even know when you got back. You rushed back here. You did this today. We kind of crash landed into it. But I think it turned out pretty good.
Well, I'm super thankful. I can't tell y'all, and I know our whole community will be better as a result of this, because there's no way that if you stick yourself out there, that everybody else isn't going to do the exact same thing. So I appreciate y'all having the nerve to encourage people to give.
Jim, we're going to keep you posted, because when we plan our next year, we'll be planning on how do we find out what everybody's 10 hours were and then how they multiplied. And we will absolutely keep you in the loop on what you brought today towards all these people. If 100 people gave 10 hours, which we always have that many on this at a minimal, plus the recording, that many hours, 1,000 hours of giving just happened today because of you.
Oh my God, I have goosebumps.
Because me to God.
That's amazing. All right. We have to get back to work, but we're going to do it with a mission and with a purpose. And we're going to rely on our why to keep us going when we're exhausted. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your Friday. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Carrie. We'll see you next month, first Friday, December. Bye.